I have a question for you. What was the last thing that God spoke to you personally, whether it be in your quiet time or the last thing he told you to do? So I've been studying through the book of Genesis lately, and I hope this is a blessing to you guys because, this really shook me. And, it actually reminded me of a question a pastor asked me many years ago when I was kind of in a tough spot in my life, a spot where I felt stuck with God, stuck in my calling. And I was just curious what was going on. And as I'm reading Genesis right now, I came to the chapter 12 and we're introduced to this man named Abram, who eventually will be named Abraham. Well, something very interesting happens is God calls him. The very first verse, he says, Abraham, I'm pulling you out of your family, out of your father's house, out of your nation, out of your culture, out of everything that you're a part of, and I'm making you my own. And I'm calling you out, and I'm going to show you and lead you into a land that you do not know. And I'm going to lead you there, and I'm going to be your God, and you are going to be my son. And he leads him out. And in chapter 12, we see this journey into the promised land that eventually will become to modern-day Israel. What happens, though, is Abraham gets there, and it's really awesome. God speaks to him in that place, and he says, this land I'm giving to you and to your descendants forever. And he makes this promise to Abraham. He speaks to him the calling. He speaks to him the promise. God speaks to him. Well, something very interesting happens at the end of chapter 12. Well, Abraham's living in the promised land. He's living in the promise at that moment, but a famine shows up. And it makes things kind of difficult in the promise. It makes it kind of difficult in the promised land. So Abraham makes a decision. We do not see anywhere where God says, hey, Abraham, things are tough right now. I want you to go to Egypt. He never said that. It just says that Abraham went to Egypt. Well, things get a little dicey in Egypt. Abraham, he lies. He tells his wife to lie about being a sister, because if they know he's his wife, the Egyptians are going to find her beautiful and try to kill him. And just things get messy. Pharaoh finds her. He calls her in as his own wife, and just things happen. God starts to judge Egypt because of this action, and this all could have been avoided if Abraham never actually left the promised land, just because things got tough. He shifted when things got difficult. Well, something very interesting I noticed as you get to chapter 13, Abraham is kicked out of Egypt in a way, and he is sent out, and he goes back to the promised land. And it's very interesting. As soon as he gets back to that place, we see God speak to him again. That's very interesting. Throughout, from the moment that God called him and put him in the promised land, God was speaking to him. But then there was this moment of silence. But he didn't speak, and God didn't speak to him again until he was back where he was supposed to be. What does that mean to you guys? What it means to me, though, is sometimes, we're looking for God to speak to us. Like, God, why are you not talking to me? Why are you not speaking to me? Why are you not directing me where I'm supposed to be next? Am I in the right place? Am I supposed to be? Well, I remember a time in my own life when a pastor and me were sitting down, and I was asking my pastor, well, I just feel stuck. I feel like I'm just asking God, what's the next thing I'm supposed to do? What's this? What's that? And he said, what was the last thing God told you to do? And then he asked me this, did you do that? Or are you doing that? So I ask the same question to you if you're in that boat. If you're wondering, like, why is God not speaking to me? Why is God not directing me? Well, maybe you haven't done, or you are not in the place where he last spoke to you, where he last told you to be. Maybe that's the question. Abraham decided to go to Egypt because he was in the promise, he was in the call, he was doing God's will in a moment, but things got dicey, things got hard, so he decided to go to Egypt for a while. He got out of the promise, he got out of the promised land, he got out of the calling, out of the position. Things got hectic and things got dry. But as soon as he got back into that place, God spoke and God began leading again. If you're wondering, why is God not speaking to me? Maybe go back and reflect on what God has already said to you and ask yourself, am I doing that? Am I being obedient to the last thing God spoke to me? Am I walking in the last thing that he called me to do? And guess what? Maybe if you shift back into that place, it'd be amazing to see how God starts to direct again. Guys, we love sharing the word of God with people. We love encouraging people. Our heart in Amundo is to help people win by making the truth popular. So guys, again, today, go out there, win with Jesus, because he is the victory. Everything. He is the answer to all your problems. He is the answer and the direction you need in your life today. We love you. God bless.